I'm back, and I can't tell. Ah, there you are. I couldn't see anybody for a bit. I can see your comments now, so I'm glad you're here. And yes, Patty, thank you for nudging Katie. We all need those nudges, let me tell you. So, welcome to Space for You, how to feel energy and joy every day. I am delighted to share all of this with you. This is day one of our 3 days together. I will try really hard to stay with those 30 minutes that I promised. And my intention for all 3 of these days is to share with you some of the ways that I have found, created, curated, adapted to help me feel joy and energy every day, even on the hardest days, even on the most challenging days, even on the days where everything around me and in me seems to be tumbling down. I use these teeny tiny ways, trying as many as necessary on any given day until I find the one, or maybe it's the accumulation, that finally gets me to a place where my breath deepens, where I feel less tension and tightness, where I feel more ease in my whole self. Where'd they come from? Everywhere and nowhere, and from my heart and from experience. They came from my commitment to myself to try and try and try and try again because I committed myself to me, to trust myself, to feel more rather than less. Not as in push yourself to your edges and your limits, not that kind of feeling more, but being more aware of how you are feeling physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally in each moment. So today is the teeny tiny things you do every day with a twist. You do not need to add to your to-do list or your should-do list. Tomorrow is teeny tiny things with a shift that expand your repertoire to include, when you're ready and when it feels right, things that shift you, things that maybe redefine your daily stuff. And then Friday is not a teeny tiny thing. Friday is the restorative yoga practice. It will be shorter, shortened, but the point is you can do as little or as much as you can. And those longer practices nurture and nourish and inform the shorter ones, and vice versa. Restorative yoga is a practice of doing nothing, and it can be among the hardest things that we try to do. So all of these will be recorded, and they will be in the group until the group ends on November 13th, which is the day that my course Restore You begins. I'll be giving homework, of course I will, useful, inspiring homework that I pray you'll do, because it's only in the doing that we transform, layer by sweet layer, so that we get to feel energy and joy every day. I do ask that you hold your questions, if you have any, until the end, and either ask me then or post them in the group. So let's begin. And I invite you to sit on a chair. If you're already on the floor, don't worry about it. One of the things that we do will be easier for you to do on the seat of a chair, and I will be shifting the camera back and forth, hopefully so that you can see exactly what I'm doing when I'm doing it. But I'd like to begin by lighting a candle, because doing so separates this space from the rest of the day. And it's why I start the day most days by lighting a candle, because it separates that moment and it inspires me to set an intention. We'll get to that. So I'm lighting a candle so that this moment becomes unique from the rest of the day, so that what happened this morning and this afternoon and even earlier this evening floats away and you feel yourself centered in this moment. So I did mention setting an intention. And an intention could be a word, it could be a phrase, it could be a prayer, a song, a poem, a paragraph. Your intention comes to you. You don't need to seek it. You just ask yourself, what do I want today? And see what comes. And let that be your intention for the day. It acts as an anchor for when you float off to wherever, because life is like that. And it gives direction to your awareness and to your attention. So what I'd like you to ask yourself is, right now, is what do I want to receive? How do I want to feel at the end of our time together this evening? How do I want to feel at the end of our time together? And let all the answers come. Maybe only one comes, maybe several comes, but try them on for size. And trust yourself to choose the one that seems to best fit for you right here, right now. And place that one thing behind your heart and allow it to radiate to the crown of your head, the soles of your feet, the tips of your fingers, and everything in between, so that you feel alive with your intention. And you'll begin to see the world through your intention and experience yourself through your intention. So how many of you have morning routines? Brushing your teeth, taking a shower, getting dressed, having some tea, having some coffee. Routines. We're always urged and encouraged to have a morning routine, because then we don't have to think about it and we just move into our day. I'm asking you to do the same things that you do, but to imbue them with a sense of sacredness by calling them a ritual. So instead of morning routines, we have morning rituals. I make myself a cappuccino every morning. My husband asked me several months ago, this is after years of making a cappuccino every morning, why do you do that? It looks like so much work. And my answer, thank God, was, I'm worth the work. It's a nice thing that I do for myself every day. But I brush my teeth every day, and I make it a ritual instead of a routine. A ritual, the word ritual, imbues the act with sacredness, and it reminds us that we are sacred. And that can become the foundation of a lot of the joy and the energy that you experience every day. So at the base of your spine, there is a bone, speaking of sacred, there is a bone, the sacrum, which is called the sacred bone. And it's different sizes in everybody. It is not, there's also a joint that's around it, the sacroiliac joint, and that is a joint of stability. It is not a joint of movement. And unfortunately, we have treated it for many, many, many years as a joint of mobility, and many of us have issues with that. Ask me how I know. So what I'd like to invite you to do right here, right now, is to become aware of that sacrum at the base of your spine. And this actually may be one of the more challenging things that we do, even if you are real familiar with it, um, and have been practicing for a while. So if you're on the floor, you can do it on the floor. It's just a little trickier, and it's easier to feel if you're on a chair. And here's where I'm gonna probably make you a little dizzy, because I'm gonna shift things around and move this down a bit so that you can see me sideways on my chair. Okay. So the sacrum is back here. It's right at the base of your spine. And what I'm inviting you to do is to let your pelvis lead you. Let the pubic bone lead you. It's a very thick bone, and it holds a lot of the organs. And we tend to ignore it. And I'm asking you to let it, not only don't ignore it, but let it lead you in your movement and your energetic presence. There's a lot going on down there. So sit on the edge of your chair. See if I can shift this just a smidgen. Sit on the edge of your chair with your feet flat on the ground, and with your hands on your waist, your thumbs behind you. And tilt the top front part, which is the belly button side, the top front part of your pubic bone slightly forward. You can see how it shifts. It's not a big shift. And then bring your belly button in and shift the top front part of your pubic bone back. Notice, I didn't have to tell my back to start arching. It just did. So now inhale and tilt the belly button side, top part of your pubic bone forward. And then exhaling, let it come back. I encourage you to do it slowly and gently, and to let your body begin to inform you about how it needs and wants to move. I get into a lot of this in my yoga classes, and in the course Restore You. There'll be a whole couple of sections on how to let the pelvis lead. What I have discovered is that it relieves a lot of the tension and the tightness and the stress in my lower back. I hope you have the same experience. So, the next item I have for you, we've done a number of different times, but it's worth repeating. Morning, afternoon, evening, it doesn't matter when you have a warm or hot beverage in your hands. It doesn't matter what it is. I invite you to wrap your hands around the cup or the mug and just hold it. If it's too hot, don't, please. But when it gets to the temperature that you can comfortably hold and be aware, let yourself do that. You're not adding onto your time, I promise you. You actually might feel your time expand because you get off the treadmill and you stop, you pause and you hold and you become aware, and then you can lift it up to your nose and smell. I happen to have ginger and rose in here this evening, and it's really lovely. So this next one has two parts. The first part is that the next time you go, and every time that you think of it, and when you start thinking about it, it becomes easier for you to do it and to think about it and remember it even more and more and more often. It builds, each of these builds on itself and on each other. So when you go get a glass of water, either at the sink or at your refrigerator, the first thing I invite you to do is think about those amazing people who made it possible over the centuries for us to have running water. Now, the Romans had it a long time ago. They had hot, cold, and tepid water running through pipes into their homes. The wealthier people did. But we have it in all of our homes. And we don't have to start our day by going to the well to get water. So let the gratitude for them and our circumstances wash over you and through you. And part two is when you're standing there, I'm inviting you to stand in a certain way. So, boom. We start with our feet in position, in a position, that honors that sacred bone, that sacrum. And this may be tricky. I may just let you see my feet and not worry about my head. But you'll stand with your feet hip width apart, maybe a little wider, maybe a little narrower. Honor your sacrum. And you can do that by putting your hands on your back, your lower back, on your sacrum, your sacred bone, just so that you can feel and experiment. How does it feel with your feet together? This feels really terrible to me. Interestingly, this is how we were taught when I first started yoga 30 years ago. We were taught to stand with our feet together, and it didn't matter what body type you had. This is really uncomfortable for me, so I'm not going to stay there. Open your feet wide. Find some place in between where your sacrum feels comfortable. And now, press the balls of your feet down. Press the front of your heel, so not back here, but the front of your heel, and lift your arches. It's a small motion, but when you do it, you will feel the energy all the way up the insides of your legs, into and through the pelvis, and all of a sudden, you'll be finding yourself standing up straighter and taller. And you didn't tell your body to do that. You let the arches lift. The thing about lining up the body in its optimal position is that when we do it, it means that we're not expending energy trying to keep it together or keep it in a certain form. When we follow the body's form, it doesn't need to work as hard as we try to make it work. So those are the two parts. One is feel gratitude, and the other is stand with your arches lifting. And I swear, you do that even once a day, and it will become easier and easier and a more natural position. But I'm not going to promise that you'll never have to think about it, because I've been thinking about it for years, and I still have to think of it. We just kind of float back into habit. And new things are uncomfortable. So we have to get used to feeling comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. When any moment you have to gaze into the sky, take it, do it. Walking outside to the car, if you're parked outside, if you're going for a walk, follow the bark of a tree up into the branches and up into the sky. If you're indoors, go to a window and gaze up. Oh, if you saw the sky this morning, it was magnificent. Look up. That alone, your gazing upward, helps combat depression. and helps bring energy to the mind, body, spirit. And if you bring your arms over your head, you're now amplifying that experience of your mind, body, spirit, of fighting depression and building energy, firing up the energy, the natural energy within you. So I'd like to end, before I tell you your homework, I'd like to end talking a little bit about nighttime rituals. Again, you have habits. I'm not asking you to discard your habits. I'm asking you simply to call them rituals. When my boys were little, I mean really little, like from the time they were born, I ended the day reading to them and singing to them and talking about what I was grateful for that day and asking what they were grateful for. And that was our nighttime ritual. Of course, as they got older, it began to extend and include things like brushing their teeth and maybe taking a bath. Everything you do can be a ritual. So I'm getting off track here a little bit, but let me ask you, do you make your bed in the morning? I do not. I learned long ago from my mother, who does make her bed, but I learned long ago to pull the covers and sheets back so that the bed got aired out a little bit, opening the windows, etc. She would go upstairs and make her bed later in the day. I do not. But what I do is I make a ritual of pulling back the covers and fluffing up the pillows and opening the window. That's my ritual. I once had a client who contacted me and said she wanted to teach her 4-year-old daughter how to make the bed, and I just said, make it fun, make it a ritual, imbue it with sacredness, both hers and yours, and it will become much easier because she looked at it as a chore. So did her daughter. And when I get to my bed late, when I'm heading in that direction, it's ready for me. And I enjoy that as part of my ritual. So think about the things that you do every day, every night, and make them your ritual. Maybe you want to add something, maybe you don't, but at this point in time, I'm suggesting that you just take what you do and look at it as a ritual. Whether it's reading in bed before you go to bed, or gently moving before you get in bed, blowing out a candle before you go to bed, whatever it is, let that be your nighttime ritual to close off the day, to prepare you for rest, for sleep. Sleep is not necessarily restful. It's the body's time to get everything organized and to integrate everything from the day. But you can make it as restful as possible by doing things that place you into that position. So your homework is to choose one, just one, because there's great power in one. Choose one of these things that I shared with you today, or if you have something else that you want to do that makes sense to you to bring ease into your mind, body, spirit, go for it. But just one, because if you choose two, you get distracted. If you choose three, there's no way that you can really assess what's working for you. Just choose one. And do that throughout your day tomorrow. You might choose another one after tomorrow. That's okay, because this is exploring. But once you get to the place where you're ready to do 3 weeks of one, choose that one with very tender, loving care, and let yourself choose otherwise if you find that it's too hard for you to do. We want to bring ease. We're told over and over throughout our lives that we have to work hard and work harder and do the hard thing and build character and all that stuff. And I'm here to advocate for greater ease. So I invite you to take your glasses off if you have glasses on. Rub your hands rigorously together to generate some heat. Very gently cup your hands over your eyes and feel the warmth from your hands. Receive the warmth from your hands in your eyes and their sockets, your cheekbones, your jawbone, all the way down to your heart. Place a smile behind your eyes, behind your lips, behind your heart, and receive the softness that moves into your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Many blessings. I'm going to snuff out our candle, and if you would like to type questions into the comments, feel free. If we just need to close for today, we'll do that. Type your questions into our group, and I will be looking for them yesterday. And I will see some of you tomorrow evening. If you can't make it, don't worry, there'll be a recording. But I hope you'll be here Friday so that you can allow me to lead you through that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful practice of just being and breathing. Namaste.